massive project, but then in between that you have to deliver a bunch of rewards. Just be mindful that that can be a pile up of terrible consequence.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in the process of, laying out issue 2 and 3 because it's a quarterly magazine, and, it's crazy right now because our designers are swamped, our web designers swamped, everyone's...
And Chris is going to have to pack and ship t-shirts.
Yep, that's what I'm going to do for the next
Okay, Jason, next up.
So it's on a related note, but I read an article this morning that Groupon has had more returns in the last month than they had in their first 3 years, or their first 6 months, sorry, and that they're projecting that it's going to keep going negative for the next 3 years because more and more people keep offering something on Groupon. Too many people buy it and they can't fulfill it. It's the quickest way to undercut your company or undercut your project is if you promise too much, you don't do it.
For the group, what's Groupon?
So Groupon, totally different model. It's coupons that come out that you can, just this one day buy a coupon for half off X or half off Y. But I think it's a very similar model, and we haven't started, I think, seeing it yet, but if you are imagining doing repeat fundraising on any of these platforms, the best people who will give you gifts, again, are the people who did it the first time. And if you don't fulfill, they can also post on Facebook, they can also post on Twitter that you didn't follow through. It only takes one negative post to all of a sudden undermine your credibility. From a thing to do, a friend of mine they're planning this now for a small theater company in South Carolina. They're doing Kickstarter extras. So for their current donors, if in their annual appeal and everything else, they're also inviting you, if you also want to go on Kickstarter and support one of these 4 incubated theater projects that we're putting on, you get an extra benefit when you come to the gala. So it's an interesting way to actually tie in getting your current donors to give a little bit more, and they're not telling their donors what you're going to get at the gala. It's because they don't know.
It's going to be sexy.
But it'll be sexy. It'll be great, and they've already raised an extra $10,000. Where their goal is $5,000. They're very tiny. They have like a $30,000 budget. So this was huge to raise an extra $5,000 on top of the $25,000 in this way. So I thought it was an interesting model.
I think, well, I don't have anything that's that helpful, but I did see recently one of our fiscally sponsored projects put in their first giving level that they were going to give cupcakes as the gift, which I didn't really understand how they were going to get the people the cupcakes or how the exchange was going to happen, but I just thought that was bizarre and cute. I don't really have any great examples, though, of successes as far as usually I'm there at the beginning looking at what people are offering in exchange, and I don't actually see the follow-through on whether or not they actually do that. So
years from now, you're going to be like, well, how did they get those cupcakes?
Just on the baking theme, my wife is here. She ran a successful project on Rocket Hub. She raised, I think, $6,500 for her own CD. It's an album of her one-woman show. And one of the things, among many other rewards that she offered, were cookies. And
easier to transport.
Yeah, easier to transport than cupcakes, absolutely. But I think she is now obligated to bake something like 21 dozen.
I'm having another 20 dozen.
Yeah. So a lot of baking going on in our household. But that being
Our
said,
famous Amos.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Pretty much. No, yeah, I mean, we've delivered them in person. Certainly, it's easy enough when a bunch of your friends are nearby. Next time you see them, you bring them along. I think it's important to realize that you don't necessarily need to deliver all of the rewards before your product is completed. I mean, a lot of people are essentially pre-selling their CD. I mean, the copy of the finished CD, which isn't recorded yet, is one of the rewards, and you can't, of course, deliver that immediately. I'm sure that subscriptions to the magazine, etc., were part of the reward structure, and you can't deliver that before the magazine is actually done. But there are lots of different sort of general categories for rewards. Certainly the finished product, souvenirs from a trip, if that's part of your project. One of our creatives, one of our first successful creatives, Laura Boyd, is a photographer, She raised money to take a trip to Paris to photograph the architecture of Paris in HDR, which is high dynamic resolution, I think. I can't remember the specific term. But she was selling large prints, small prints, and then, essentially all sorts of other things, a postcard from Paris for a couple of dollars. The idea is to involve folks, and certainly a postcard from overseas is a nice way to sort of remember your contribution and your involvement. But we break down a number of the sort of categories for rewards as a sort of suggestion for you to sort of start thinking about rewards on our sister site, rockethub.org, where we blog about all sorts of different topics associated with crowdfunding and give plenty of advice. It's certainly a good resource for folks who are thinking about doing this in terms of strategy and components of a strong project. But I think one of the most creative things I saw was actually also baking. But
This just
another
makes my heart so
creative of ours, Janine Tarana, is a musician. She was raising money to record a CD, and she also happens to be a very passionate baker. She makes beautiful cakes and pies. I mean, this stuff is certainly professional grade. And instead of posting pictures of her with her guitar all over her project, she actually posted a bunch of pictures of her cakes and pies, and actually leveraged that into connecting to another network of hers. Rather than just asking her friends who are musicians or knew her as a musician, she pushed the project out to this other set of friends because she has multiple talents. And all of a sudden, people were coming to the site to essentially buy her baked goods. So it all comes back to a bake sale, I guess. But
one of the really little ones just that I thought was creative is how to turn the remnants into value. So there was a photographer who she shot everything on film, and some of her giveaways were the photos that didn't make it into the show. So if she shot 20 shots, she's going to have to get prints of everything. And she'll only use 2. Normally throw the rest away or recycle them. Instead, she gave those out. And so and I've seen a number of that, like how do you, if you're a film producer, the outtakes, that you will only get, just your outtake. So you cut down the extra 40 hours of film, you can make 40 different 1-minute segments or and it's only yours. Nobody else will get it. You already recorded it, it's easy to cut. So you actually turn things that you would do anyway into value in a different way.
Along those lines, there's another film project which is actually offering people the opportunity to sponsor 1 frame of the film. And one of their rewards is to send you a still image, actually digitally. So they're emailing you the image of your frame. So, there are lots of creative ways to sort of parse up your
And
project.
on that note too, just before I open up for questions, I would say, be serious about it and think about doing a little market research.
Yeah.
The thing that would appeal to another filmmaker, I don't care about a digital frame of your film, but my mother might. That would be kind of appealing to her. So think about the different markets that you're trying to reach and what are the kinds of incentivized interactions you could make with them, and then maybe call some of them on the phone and test it out. See what they think is cool, because you may hit a generational divide where somebody thinks something that you don't think is very interesting and they think it's really cool. And if you can find the cheap, easy, cool thing for someone else, that's going to be your sweet spot. Are there any questions?
Actually, can I just add one thing too? I just wanted to say that another thing to keep in mind is if you're doing more than one project. So Carrier Pigeon probably at another point will do another campaign online. And one thing that I would definitely recommend is polling the people that donated to you, to ask them what worked and what didn't work for them, and so you can make your next campaign even stronger and better. And obviously you don't want to send that to every single person that donated because you might not personally know them, but try to target like a segment of them and say to them, how can I make this better the next time? What did you like about it? What did you dislike? And really think about when you're setting up your giving levels, think about ways of involving the people that are giving and giving them, titles. So maybe it's, 50 writers give $50. So that's the goal. And that's exactly, all of these 50 writers are going to be part of this $50 giving campaign. Just something clever that can really connect them and make them feel like they're part of this giving community, and that they're connected to each other, that they're not just, individuals out there that are just giving to this one project, that they're actually involved with it. So.
Excellent. Questions? I don't say.
Okay, well,
There we go. All right.
All right.
Say by the host.
One of the things that I see with a lot of my clients, I'm a fundraising consultant, is that we walk into an organization and they've done no donor stewardship, and you have to cold call all the donors who gave 5, 10 years ago. With the crowdsourcing microgrants, it seems like it's much more immediate. You're talking about a very short time horizon. It might be very frequent, but what do you do in between when you're trying to steward people through online giving?
Well, I think it's I spend a lot of time doing the organizational fundraising. I think arts organizations have the unique opportunity to see this as a part of a broader fundraising campaign. Now, how do you use this as a new entry point that's even lower than you normally did? You're not asking for people to respond to the mailed annual appeal or to come and make a donation. And so all of the other ways, what information, how much do you send them? Don't send them too much, but send them things where you're not asking. Just wanted to let you know, here's what's going on. Or, oh my God, the set crashed down, but here's a picture of us repainting it. Just thought you'd like to know behind the scenes. The moments that you actually, I think, build more trust with people when you communicate with them when you're not asking, so that the times that you do ask, they're kind of, oh, I like getting Jason's emails, because he always tells us how they almost blew up the printer, and then the one time that it's rarely, oh, now he wants money. Okay, well, he does need to fix the printer, so keeping in contact, I think is an important part of that.
You had mentioned earlier that in making in fundraising efforts, it's really important to have credibility for people to even want to trust you enough to give you their credit card information. As we all know, anybody can post anything. So if someone were to post something negative about the event that you're trying to launch, what tactics do you have? What resources do we have to kind of fight that or protect the brand or the project that we're trying to do?
We have some connections to the Russian mafia.
That's a live event.
Amazing. You have to donate $1,000 to get access.
In general, I think, if there's somebody out there who's posting a malicious remark or an unfounded criticism, certainly on our sites there is the opportunity to either contact us as administrators and ask us to remove the comment, but of course that's a delicate balance. I mean, the question really is the comment justified and valid as a warning to other folks? Listen, I gave this guy $500 last time around and he never gave me my reward, is a legitimate criticism, and that person doesn't necessarily deserve success the second time around, right? So it's a delicate balance. I would encourage folks who run into a problem like that to reach out to the administrators of the site and discuss solutions. There's also a lot of possibility for spam. Hey, buy Viagra. Here's the link. As a comment on your project, of course, is frustrating. So those can get deleted very easily. But in terms of building credibility, again, in my opinion, it comes back to that first 25% of your goal and the first quarter of your time limit. Folks who aren't pushing their project, folks who aren't actively trying to make it happen, sit there with $0 raised or $5 raised, and you look at it and you say, I don't know, if they don't have enough support in their own network to, get this thing off the ground, then I don't know why I, as a person who doesn't really know them well, would really trust them. So